went to bleeding races. 'Twas on the 9th of June, 1862, on a summer's afternoon. I took the bus to Banbury's and she was heavy laden. Away we went along Collingwood Street, that's on the road to Bleeding.
You're watching Toon TV. This is the big match preview between Watford and my club Newcastle United. The kickoff is this Saturday at Vicarage Road at 12:30 kickoff. The games are coming thick and fast with only 4 games to go as the Premier League try and get the season to its conclusion. It's tiring, but the videos just keep on coming on this channel. If you are new and you are watching for the very first time, please could you subscribe to the channel? It's free to do so and it would really help me and the channel to grow in 2020. And also please hit the thumbs up. The more people that hit the thumbs up, the better. And it just goes to show that you do enjoy the content. Let's jump straight into it. So if you're a Watford fan watching for the very first time, welcome. If you're a Newcastle fan, also the same. Now the way these previews go about, I talk about my club Newcastle United first in the first part of the preview. Then in the second part of the preview, I'll talk about the opposition. In this case, it's Watford. So if you are a Watford fan, please stay patient, keep watching. Stay tuned and I will talk about you lot very, very soon. So Newcastle, my club, well, what can I say? We'll come off the back of a very disappointing 5-0 defeat to Manchester City. We deserved to lose that game. I was more disappointed than I was angry. It was always going to be a tough ask to get anything from Manchester City. When you're losing your 2 key players like St. Maximin and Almiron, you're giving yourself a big mountain to climb. But then again, even if we played our 2 best players, it could have been the same outcome. It all depends on your attitude and how you go about the game, and our attitude just was not there. The way we're set up was all wrong. Steve Bruce got it completely wrong, but I'm not just going to blame him for the way the team played, because the minute you cross that white line, you've got to give your all. You've got to have that passion for the club that you represent. You've got to have a passion for the badge, and unfortunately the players didn't have that. They had that attitude like, well, the season's done. We're in the Premier League for next season. We had 5 games left at the time. No European football to challenge for. What more can I give? You know, Manchester City are good. We also played the 4-4-1-1 formation. It might as well have been a 5 at the back because, let's be honest, we didn't lay a glove on Manchester City. And going into the Watford game on Saturday afternoon, we need to be much better than that. We need to be 10 times better. We are better than that. We've proven that. We went down to Bournemouth and got a very good result. We went down to Southampton and put out a really good performance. We've beaten Sheffield United, who are a lot better, on paper. We can pull out good performances, but we need to revert to the formation that's working, which I'll talk about very, very soon. Watford, listen, it'll be a tough game because they are battling to stay in the Premier League. We need to not act like we've got our flip-flops on and they're on holiday. Lads, you need to really turn up and give out a good performance on Saturday, because what we're seeing against Man City wasn't good enough. Yes, I would have accepted if we'd lost 5-0 and we put up a good performance and a good effort, but we didn't see any of that, and we need to see a lot better on Saturday, because anything less than a good performance and we're going to get humiliated again, this time by Watford, and we need to try and play our own game and try and get back on track. And looking at us at the minute, we're currently sat 13th place in the Premier League on 43 points. We were 12th when we took on Manchester City, but because we'd lost by such a big margin, then Southampton have obviously taken over on a better goal difference, and they could go further clear if they get a win against Everton. So listen, we've only gone and done it to ourselves. Our unbeaten run has come to an end as well. We were 5-6 games unbeaten going into the Manchester City game, but it was never going to be easy to get anything and keep the unbeaten run going against Manchester City. We've got a horrible record down at the Etihad Stadium, and of course that hasn't changed as of the result the other day. Now, looking at our record in the last 3 Premier League games, we have actually picked up a total of 4 points from 9 available. So we took on AFC Bournemouth last week and beat them 4-1 down at the Vitality Stadium. Fully deserved win, in my opinion. And then we took on West Ham at home. We drew 2-2, a game which we should have got all 3 points in. But then again, you could say West Ham deserved all 3 points on the way they played. We didn't have our best performance, but you could say on paper it should have been a home banker, but it wasn't. And again, we were lucky not to lose the game. And then we took on Manchester City and lost 5-0, and that could have been double figures, truth be told. They could have scored so many more if it wasn't for Dubravka in our defence at times. We laid no glove on Man City, and that's what happens, unfortunately. But listen, from those 3 fixtures, if you'd asked me, you're going to take another 4 points, you would have taken it, and we are safe. We haven't got much more to play for, but listen, we've got to try and treat each game, as it comes, with the respect of the opposition. Now, Steve Bruce tends to go with the 4-2-3-1 formation. If there's any Watford fans watching, he probably will go with that formation on the weekend. I'd like to think it's the formation that's been getting the results. He did use 5 at the back, or so, if you'd like to say, against Manchester City in the FA Cup. And I would also say the same thing against Man City the other day, even though it was 4-4-1-1. It felt like 5 at the back because we never once got forward in that game. But with our formation, if we're fit enough players back like Almiron, St. Maximin, expect a lot more from us in terms of attack. Expect a lot more, freedom of those, getting forward like Almiron, like St. Maximin. Hopefully Joe Linton can start, creating more efforts on goal. That's what we want to see. More efforts on goal, which we didn't see in midweek against Manchester City. Now, key injuries for the game. Well, we could be missing Isaac Hayden, Sean Longstaff, possibly Manquillo. Lascelles didn't make the game against Manchester City. That may be because of rest purposes. You could say the same for Almiron, who was on the bench against Manchester City, and Alan St. Maximin, who also was rested for the Manchester City game. Now, I'd like to think that we're going to have a stronger lineup for the game against you lot on Saturday. So this is my start 11 for the game. So in goal, I'm going to go with Martin Dubravka. At right back, I'm going to go with Danny Rose. At left back, I'm going to go with Emil Kraft. My 2 centre backs, first up, Jamal Lascelles. Alongside him, Federico Fernandez. In the midfield, first up, John Joe Shelby. Alongside him, Matty Longstaff. On the right-hand side, I'm going to go with Matt Ritchie. On the left-hand side, I'm going to go with Alan St. Maximin. In the cam position, I'm going to go with Mickey Almiron. And up front, on his own, I'm going to persist with Joe Linton. Now, that is my starting 11 for the game against Watford on Saturday. What changes would you make? Would you stick with the 5 at the back? Would you go with the 4-2-3-1 formation? What would you go with? Let me know. I wouldn't put Bentaleb back into the side. I thought he was poor against Manchester City, one of the poorest players on the pitch. You could say that for a lot of them, but when you're trying to drive forward in that midfield, he offered absolutely bugger all. I'd be one of them that doesn't want to see him back in a Newcastle shirt next season. You could say that for a few players against Manchester City, but Joe Linton, now there's a chance for him with Alan St. Maximin and potentially Almiron starting, that he could get forward because he was non-existent against Manchester City. Now, let's move on to our opponents, Watford. So let's look at them now. Watford are managed by Nigel Pearson. He took over halfway through the season when they were in dire straits. They weren't doing very well in the Premier League, and he's taken over and he's done a relatively decent job. When Watford looked down and out, he pulled some results together, around Christmas time. And then just before lockdown, they started to lose some more games again. And then since Project Restart, they haven't really been in the best run of form up until their victory in midweek. But you know what? I'd say he's doing a decent job, given that he hasn't been in Premier League management, for a long time. And he's proven all of the doubters wrong, for those Watford fans who didn't think he was good enough. He's definitely, got that togetherness of the squad. A complete contrast to the start of the season where Watford just couldn't really buy a win. Now, looking at Watford, their position, they're currently 17th in the Premier League. They're just above the relegation zone by 4 points. They're currently on 31 points after that victory, and they'll be looking to this game as another potential victory. They're looking at us as, well, we're on the beach, we haven't really got much to play for, but if they can win this game, they could potentially go even further clear of the relegation zone. Of course, they are 4 points clear, but if Aston Villa get a result, as I'm recording, against Manchester United, then it could all change. But Aston Villa doing something against Manchester United is going to be tough. But Watford, this is a big game for them. It's a huge home game for them, and they'll be looking, to try and make a back-to-back wins, and we have to try and stop them, one way or the other. And if they can get those 3 points, 34 points for them, I would say maybe one more win on top of that, or a draw, a couple of draws, and then they're safe. I'd say 36 points is going to keep you up in the Premier League, ready for next season. But they've still got a lot to do. That form before that victory hasn't been very good. It's been very poor, in my opinion. I think Nigel Pearson said after the game against Norwich that they have been on poor form. They have, dropped points where they should really have picked up points, and you can't afford to, drop silly points at this stage of the season when there's only so many games left. But on paper, Watford have got a decent side, They've just underperformed over the course of the season. And they've been my sort of surprise package because I was never expecting Watford to be anywhere near the bottom of the Premier League, especially battling relegation. You normally associate Watford for being that mid-table club or that club that can potentially get into the top 10. But unfortunately, it hasn't been their season. It wasn't to be for the first part of the season, but second part of the season, you have to give them credit. And, they did draw with us at St James's Park. I felt they should have actually won the game. They were the better side at the start of the season, and they were unfortunate. But listen, a lot has happened since then. We were both in bad form, but we sort of picked up form in the second half of the season, whereas Watford, it's been that kind of season for them where they just haven't had that consistency level. Now, of course, they beat Norwich, so they'll be full of confidence going into the game on Saturday. We got beat 5-0, so I'd have to say they're favourites, unfortunately, with that victory. So looking at their last 3 results in the Premier League, they've only picked up 3 points from a possible 9 available. So they did lose at home to Southampton, a game which they should be winning, in my opinion. Southampton at the time were safe. Watford, it was a cast of their own downfall, in my opinion. Then Chelsea, they also lost 3-0 away. Now, don't get us wrong, Chelsea are a great side. They're in the top 4. They're going for the Champions League, so it was never easy for Watford, to get something at the Stamford Bridge Stadium. And then last result was the win against Norwich, a game where they fell behind, but they showed great fighting spirit to come back from 1-0 down to win the game 2-1. And Danny Welbeck scored a fantastic overhead kick to get them those 3 points. If they'd sort of drawn that game or lost that game, then they're in massive trouble. I feel like they had to win that game in order to stand a chance of staying up. But fair play to Watford, fair play to Nigel Pearson, because I watched the game and I thought it was a bit dull at times, but if you're in relegation battle, you've got to fight for everything. Now, Watford, their formation, they tend to go with a 4-2-3-1 formation, so they play the same formation as what we do. And I do expect Watford to have a lot of the ball. I expect us to have some of the ball. I expect a 50-50 game, in my opinion. I do. I know Watford are favourites and I know they're at home, but with no crowd, it's a 50-50 game. And we need to try and show what we're about. I think we've got more quality than Watford, truth be told, and the table doesn't lie. But we need to make sure that we keep the ball correctly, and we need to make sure that we don't give them a lot of possession on the ball, because they have got pace. They have got players that can, on their day, can change a game. They have got some experienced players despite where they are in the league, and we need to make sure that on the day we don't drop our standards, because against Watford, I can see this as a winnable game for us. I can see it as a game where we must turn it around, and Watford will be seeing it as the same, where they need to try and get in our faces. I expect a tough battle, on the day of the game. Now, for how I expect them to go about the game, they're going to go for it. Nigel Pearson's going to say there's no need to sit back against Newcastle United, who are prone to conceding on the counter-attack. We're very poor from set pieces, so if there's any Watford fans watching, if you get a corner or if you get like a free kick, then I do expect you to put it in the back of the net, because we cannot defend to save our lives. We are really bad. I think we're down there with the worst in terms of defending from simple set pieces, and that's where you've been benefiting, from your goals, and that was a huge benefit in the game against Norwich, your last game out at Vicarage Road, and I think you've kind of hit us at the right time, if I'm being honest with you. Now, if there's any Toon fans watching for Watford, players to watch out for, first up, I'm going to go with Danny Welbeck. Now, he has had a lot of injury problems this season and in his career. Not to forget, he has played, for Arsenal, at the time when they were battling in the Champions League and the Europa League. But he's got experience. He's got 1 goal for Watford this season. But don't say that he's not a good player, because he is. He scored against Norwich, so his confidence will be up, and he'll be looking for another goal against us on Saturday. And he's that sort of menace, that fox in the box as well, where he likes to put himself about. He hasn't quite got the pace like he used to, but he is very dangerous, and we'll have to watch out for him this weekend. Next up, I'm going to go with Craig Dawson. He is their centre-back. He's got 2 goals for Watford this season. He was signed from West Brom. He's been all right. He's great from set pieces. When I watched him against Norwich, he's good with headed finishes. He scored against Norwich, so his confidence will be up. We need to watch out for him big time, because if we give him any space, 9 times out of 10 from a set piece, he will stick it in the back of the net. He will cause problems. Third up, I'm going to go with Troy Deeney, that main man, Mr. Watford, the guy who, is Watford through and through. Obviously, he's from the Midlands, but he's been there through thick and thin with Watford. He's got 6 goals for them this season. He's probably looking for more. He'll admit himself he hasn't had his best season but he's always given his all for the club. He is getting on a bit, but he's one of them where he's not blessed with pace, but he's got the ability to finish. And if we give him any space, if we give him any good service, and we don't defend our lines, then I think 9 times out of 10 he will be looking for a goal. And next up, and last but not least, I'm going to go with Saw, who is a winger for Watford. He's got 6 goals. He's pacey. He caused Liverpool problems when they lost their first game of the season. And he's one of them where he's tricks, flicks, skill. He's got what it takes to get Watford forward and get them moving. And without him, they lose a lot of quality, and they rely so much on his pace. And we're going to have to make sure that someone like Kraft or Rose, who's marking him, keeps up with him, because if they don't, then it could be a difficult afternoon. So that is the players to watch out for Watford. But all in all, I expect a really difficult game on Saturday. I expect Watford to really get in my faces, but I do expect a response from a Newcastle fan's point of view. I do expect the lads to create a lot more than they did against Manchester City. I expect us to do a lot more with the ball, to work with one another. I expect Steve Bruce to go with the 4 at the back. I expect just an all-round better performance. I don't want to see the same performance that I've seen against Manchester City. I don't want to see the 5 at the back anymore. I just want to see a total honest game. So, score prediction, I'm going to go for a tight 1-0 win. It's an away from home. As long as we bounce back and we get 3 points, I'll be happy. A draw wouldn't be the worst result in the world. It would cap off what's been a very disappointing week. But if we could stop that defeat against Manchester City, I think anybody will take a point on Vicarage Road. But I think we need to just keep going. Just let's not give up, and let's just try and keep the relegation picture alive and kick in with Watford, and let's not take them lightly, because if we do, then it could be a welcome 3 points for them. So I'm always going to back the lads 1-0. Just keep it tight, and let's just try and do better than we did against Manchester City. So let me know your score predictions down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. That's been my match preview for the game. If you haven't subscribed, please do hit the thumbs up. That'd be massively appreciated. Follow me on social media, Toon TV, and I'll see you all in the next one. Keep it tuned. HOWAY the lads.
I